kindergarten. Okay, so now we, I think the minute is over, right? It's the longest minute ever. So I slightly changed actually the title. No migrations, and this is actually what I do a lot. This is actually what you ask me now, whether I'm doing what I'm showing you on the projects. Actually, I'm not a speaker. Whatever I show on stage, I'm usually doing projects because I have no time for preparation. So what I show you now is what I do your projects, and otherwise I would show nothing or try to avoid conferences, what I do. And it's a pity, we have to say it loud. Adam, the other Adam, what's the name? Adam Duchak, invited me here, and I wanted to say hello, and he disappeared. So like he doing some management PowerPoint stuff, which is not very good for Java developers, right? So hopefully it's recorded, so the next time. So what this slide says is I'm a freelancer, and I never work for larger companies. So what's really funny for me is all the political stuff, how it goes, the departments and budgets, so I don't have such problems. I only see technology, problem, solution. This is what I try, how I try to approach things. I started with Java since 1995, and since 1997 I'm a freelancer, and I hope I'm still mentally healthy. It's at least one of my personalities tells me that. And why it is important? Because actually, who started Java before 2000? Anyone here? Okay. So what you should probably remember back then is we had about 50 different backend servers which were completely incompatible with each other. So this was back then, you know, how to call it? Yeah, the status quo. So what it means for me as a Java consultant back then, it was impossible to know more than 2 servers at the same time, but not all of them. Unfortunately, all my clients had different servers, and even some clients in Germany, a small company called Siemens back then, they bought their own application server because they could. So for me, it was like mission impossible, you know? So, so for instance, servlets, there was not even web XML. So you were not, it was impossible to write a servlet and deploy it on different servers without major refactoring. And on that note, for EJBs, we had serializable deployment descriptors which look like domain-specific language. But this was before XML. Then XML took off, and everyone wanted to have XML, so they ditched DSL and went with XML, and now it's like everything repeats. So this is, and what I was really happy, in 1999, J2E came out. It's like, okay, you all are crazy. I would just focus on the standard, and let's see how it goes, and it went great. So all my clients are happy, so they didn't have to migrate, so except they had strange external libraries which went incompatible. But if you stick with the standard, it works surprisingly well. And actually, the worst possible case, it was like the migration from the old J2E stuff to the modern Java 5, Java 6, and Java 7 was really painless because it took far less time than actually planned. And the only problem was, of course, custom-grown or homegrown persistence. So why I'm talking about this, so this is a little bit in Java, and right now I have the same problem in frontend. And this is the focus of the conference. I will hack a little bit from the backend, but actually I will show you something in the frontend. And some of my clients started with Angular 1. And Angular 1 was nice. This was my opinion. So it is like, for me, Java developer is like scope. I put the variables on it, and it's available, so very like JSP or JSF, so not a big deal. And then, unfortunately, the Angular team decided to have Angular 2, which was completely, actually, it was more similar to React than to Angular 1. And all of my clients, or some of my clients, stuck with Angular 1.3 and couldn't migrate to 1.5, and then couldn't migrate to 2. So they stuck with that. The other teams developed Angular 2, 3, 4, and they wanted to have cross calls between the apps, which was not possible, and then asked me about React. React is nice, but there is a licensing issues, then why don't you use Preact? And if you're using Preact, why not look Inferno? This is another React clone, which does not have the issues, but the problem is it's developed by one guy. What happens if this is hit by the bus? So okay, then we have to learn another framework, which could be, for instance, Vue.js. But if you look at the Vue, it is almost like Angular 1 and mixes with React. But then the really interesting question is, if we went that far, Ember.js would be also nice. So what it means is I have in the same problematic situation as 20 years ago with Java EE. Right now, I would learn 20 frameworks. And the question is there something similar like Java EE? And it absolutely is, and it's doable. And this is what I would like to show you today. I'm not sure how much time we have, because the organizer was also sure between 45 minutes and 1 hour, what I understood. So we are very flexible, very agile talk, right? So, I have one content slide on everything that is in marketing. So this is one slide which I create right now. So since this was like 2-3 days ago, the grid layout is available in Edge, Microsoft Edge, which I'll show you in a few seconds. It's just I would like to close the slides because they consume lots of CPU cycles, so I don't like them. So but this you have to remember. So what it means is what I will show you in a second will be doable in all browsers. So right now, if you're interested in standards, this is my YouTube channel. If you have questions, first Monday of the month, I'm answering all questions live using YouTube, Ustream and YouTube. But the deal is, I will never answer a technical question via email again, because it's painful and hell on earth. So you answered it once, and you get 3 other questions back. And this is marketing, and this was the last slide. So any questions? Thank you. It's not over yet. So actually, the essence is done. I could walk away, right, and go to Electra and drink some cappuccino. So archetype. So I need a backend still. So I would like to start with that, and what I'm doing right now. NetBeans is a Czech IDE. You should use it because it's from Prague. I think the origins are in Prague, so this is the only choice you have here, right? It's in Prague as well. Pardon? Oh, okay, but Eclipse not, right? God bless. Okay, because with Eclipse, I would say the next time we should, negotiate, the fee here, because there will be no time to install all the plugins. The session will be over. We need about 1 hour for plugin installation. At the end, I will show you that it boots. Like, wow, now it's started. Okay. I was once here at Oracle Code conference, and I always need some, some idea what to develop. And it seemed like you really liked a Critec. You know what Critec is? I saw it on the airport. It's a small black guy. The other guys were, you are from Critec. This guy. And I created microservice and load balancing with Critec. And right now there is no backend, but I will reuse the Critec because, and I knew already what drilling means. This was a very strange in Czech, but I forgot it. So this is the Critec. And what's going here? Do I have internet or not? So it waits. GeeCON speakers, this might be the problem. Wait a second, I don't need actually internet for this. Don't worry. As I said, offline first. Kill Java. If it doesn't work, who cares? I can start with the UI, but it actually doesn't need the internet right now. Everything is local. It tries to check whether there's a newer version. That's all. But I disabled the internet, and now it should work better. This is not always true with the clouds, but in my case. So let's do this. Junk, perfect, hero, heroes. Does the Critec, is the name Critec, right? Does the guy has, oh, you see heroes. Without internet works better. So the first best practice is, if you would like to be sane, you should be offline. So you see offline works in 1 second. So this is the Java 7, or Java 8, let's go back, Java 7 template. And what I can do now, so I have here now a configuration. Is the font okay? Yeah, all young, Java developers are young, so 10 font is not a problem. So this is like, now we have a JAX-RS endpoint. What we also have here is an endpoint which could work, so I will try it right now. If it doesn't work, I will just kill it again and start with the front end, which is actually, so I'm using right now Payara, and Glassfish v5 is the reference implementation for Java 7, and Payara Alpha 5 is also available. But since then, I used the more traditional Payara for Java 7 is good enough. And this is what I'm using in my current project. So everything started, and let's see whether this ping is working. Resources, ping or pings. Ping. Enjoy Java 8, so which is not very true, but we should. Okay, but now let's go. Question to you: has the Critek has friends? Is only alone? There's something else than Critek? Mouse. And what's the name of the mouse? Mouse is mouse in Czech. Oh yeah, Miška. M-E-S-K-A. M-Y-S-K-A. I don't have internet. No, JSON array, but we verify that. No problem. So JSON array, and this would be heroes, and here would be also heroes. Heroes. I could leave it and do some. And this is stateless because of performance monitoring and stuff like that. And by the way, in E4J. There is one talk to kill the EJBs, which would be very nice if we get all the functionality in CDI back. So this is what can happen. Airhacks, then heroes dot store boundary, and this would be let's say heroes. So and we have one EJB again, and this returns heroes, and this return. Oh, this would be not that nice. Let's do this list, and I have still Java 8. Actually, I switched to Java 8 before the show. With Java 8, with Java 9, it would be a little bit nicer. I could use off because I don't have Java 8, so I have to use arrays as list. And the first one is our main hero Critek, and the next one is the Muska. So we have both. So and this should be actually here, refactor, and the ping resource should be not ping resource. Where it disappears. Ping resource should be heroes resource, and then say here what we get injection to show you, the whole deal inject, and this is the heroes, and here we get something like heroes dot heroes for each. And what I can do, I can create here an array builder. This is Java 7. In Java 8, we get a collector, which simplifies this even further. But right now, it's not like we need additional framework to do this. Return readval dot build. And this basically is a very basic microservice. Heroes is the business logic. In the package, store boundary heroes, and we have the endpoint, which exposes is as JSON. In a real world, but we should not focus on Java 7 too much, I would get a hero entity which serializes itself to JSON object, and we are set. Actually, I got a funny contract. A client tried to create a microservice, and they had 30 framework classes for one business class, and there was just one business entity with a view facades. Like a little bit too much, and now I got a contract to delete everything and show them that everything with Java 7 would also work with 3 classes, which is the best contract ever. So I don't write any code, I'm deleting the code, and at the end, everyone is happy. So what I have here, heroes resource with heroes. So it exposes the heroes as a JSON array, and with a little bit of luck, where is my browser? We don't need resource, it was heroes. I think heroes doesn't work. Don't worry, it will. Heroes, I will probably have to start the server again because I said kill Java. Unfortunately, Payara is in Java, so everything was killed. So I will run it again. Oh, it was fast. Resources. So if you're using Java, there is no time for coffee. You see, you have to work all the time. We have Critek and Miska. So we are now ready for the UI. So, and because of time, I do something which I do later, is I include here a coarse filter. Otherwise, it would be not, as it is in the real world, because what I would like to do, I will try to create the UI independently. So, Dependency, I need a course filter, and course stands for cross-origin resource sharing, and what it basically says is it sets headers, and just this should be, this is okay. About the IntelliJ, is the headquarters in Prague or in St. Petersburg? You see? So that's what I thought, in my background thread. So probably some people are here in Prague, but headquarters are not in Prague. So this is the difference. So so we have here the Kritek, and we have the Miska, and now we have a course filter. And what the course filter is a single dependency. If you go here and look at that, because of Java 7, you have to write just provided and installs itself. And this is my filter. This is not configurable. It exposes just everything you are allowed to do: get, post, put, delete options, and whatever. And in our project, we just change the source code directly without any configuration framework. And yeah, and it's set. Okay, now what we can do? So we can go here and say, give me the heroes. And curl, look at that. And as you can see, the filter is not installed yet. So I will have to build it another time. And by the way, I use always Maven. It's fast enough. If we find some time, I will deploy the Kritek as a Docker container to have a scalable Kritek. And you see here now all the access control headers are there. So what I did, I installed now, restarted the server several times. By the way, it is not a micro profile. What I'm using is the worst possible case. It's a full-blown Java EE application server, which I always use in my projects, because there is no measurable difference between the swarm small servers and the larger ones. Actually, the full session in Java 1 is recorded. You can look at that. There was no difference. I measured the whole time, and there was no difference in runtime. If there's no difference, who cares? Questions? Then start with the UI. So what you need is someone. Any opinions? No? Okay. So so what I created a small shell script, and it creates 3 files. And we need the heroes UI. And I'm using something else. I'm not sure whether this is developed in Prague either. It's called Visual Studio Code. But it's still nice. Why I'm using this to show you there's actually no magic. Fully suspecting that NetBeans does something specific magical. So it's not true, so I'm using something else. And what I also use in my projects is this tool called Browser Sync. And if you have internet, you will browser sync IO, and it is used by all the frameworks anyway. And what it does, it watches the directory and pushes the changes via WebSocket to a browser, so I don't have to click refresh. This is all I use in my projects. So let's start the browser sync. And the browser sync should start, yeah, it did, the browser. And now let's go here. And what I have it here, I have here index HTML, and I have lots of JavaScript code, which looks like this. And so hello web standards, so this works. And we have a CSS file, which looks like that. And so what I would like to do is first show you how JavaScript looks today and what you can achieve without any additional frameworks. What I showed you right now in the backend, what you can achieve without any additional frameworks in the backend. So if we switch to heroes target, H. You see, there's a 8 kilobyte of code is the course filter dependencies, entire dependency, and all my heroes and Mishkas and everything included. So in real world, our wars are about 600K. So why it's so important? Now clouds are coming, OpenShift clouds, the smaller the war, the faster the deployment. So this is what really matters to me, not how big is the server. I do not care at all, rather how small is my deployment. And by the way, just a side note, the whole Uber jar and fed jar, for me, is not logical. Why not? Because if I rebuild a project, only 8 kilobyte will change. With the fed on Uber jar, I will have, to recreate the whole jar with all the runtime, also just 1, not even percent, 0.00% change. So it's not logical. If someone has the idea what the benefits of fed jars, Uber jars are, drop me a mail. I would like to understand that. Or not mail, ask an AXTV question, or after the show, come to me and say, look, this is the benefit. I asked this multiple times, I never got an answer, except it's cool, or we should do this way, without knowing why. which, by the way, is cargo cult programming. This is applying patterns without knowing why. So, any questions? Answers? No. So this is wrong IDE. So we are now here. So what we can do, I can now say class heroes view, and this is constructor. And what I can do right now, I can go here and say, let's say I do something more involved than that, and I would like to have a main tag and then header tag plus in header, then let's say article, nav, and footer. So, and this plugin is called Emmet, is also available for NetBeans, and IntelliJ and WebStorm is out of the box. On Eclipse, probably after half a day of installation, you also get it, right? So we have this, and we have header, article, nav, and let's say the header is hello. So hello, and I would like to do something with the header. So we have here, and I can say document query selector. So the first thing we do, we use a standard API called query selector. What we can do with that, we can delete jQuery, which is also nice. So the first JS is gone. So this answers all the questions I get all the time in project. Should I learn jQuery first or JavaScript? Hence, jQuery we can kill right now. It's answered. So this header, this is ES6, available in all browsers. If I had an internet, I would use caniuse.com and type ES6. You will see available in all browsers, no issues here. No transpilation, nothing. Everyone agreed? So if you're working for internet, it's a little bit different because you have to deal with really old browsers. In intranet, no issues. So in all my enterprise projects, I do exactly that. In internet, we do almost that, but we have transpilation before. But conditional transpilation means not like we transpiling everything to ES5, the old JavaScript, rather than only if the browser not supports that. So this answers even more your question, right? So we have this, and JavaScript looks like Java. So actually, the longer we will wait, not late. The longer we are waiting, the more JavaScript becomes like Java. Actually, the ES7 features get more and more Java features, which for us Java developers are really nice. Except we are using frameworks. It looks completely different. It's outlandish, right? So const view equals new heroes view. Heroes view. And what we can do right now, I can say here, just for fun, console dir this dot header. And dir is like log a little bit better because what I see right now, I see the DOM API. And the nice story is the DOM API is standardized. And actually, if you're an old Java developer, if you look at the DOM, you should recognize that it's exactly the same DOM API which you use in the early days for XML parsing. So there are two bindings, Java and C. The C binding is used in browser to parse the HTML, and the Java binding we used the old days to parse XML on some SOA project are still using to parse SOAP, probably. So we have this. Questions? No questions? This is actually a nice trick. If I would use log instead, I would just see this, and if I click on that, I see that, which is nice, but doesn't help me as a developer. So dir was the first small hack. So now, hence, I'm a Java developer and would like to debug it a little bit. I saw console.dir. They will look through the properties, and they will find inner.text, which is standardized across all browsers. So what I can do, I can say this header dot inner text equals Mishka header and Mishka header. So this is at the beginning of how it's called Ajax or Web 2.0. We are always completely confused about the movement. What it just means you are building dynamic UIs. Any questions about that? No questions. Then a little bit more enterprisey. So go to CSS. Let's say this is background is light blue, but this cinema seems to be red. So this is like a branding of this. What's called cinema? The whole chain is called cinema something, right? Cinestar. So Cinestar could be red because everything is red. So what I can do, I can say I would like to have a Cine red, which is, by the way, if you have no idea about colors, I recognize since I'm using just the light variant, it always looks good. So light orange, for instance. So, and this is like, I can say this is one variable, or it's called custom property in CSS. And then I can use it here and say var scene red. And it doesn't work because I will have to say header. Mishka header. Scene red, light orange. Still not orange. Green. Green. Light orange didn't exist. So light green. Oh, light green. So this was true with the light, works for everything except orange. So we have light green. You see, and the cool story is we can have a fallback, except say if there is no light orange, I could have red. So if I misspell this, there is a fallback to red. So what this kills is less and SAS, for instance. Many projects use less and SAS and pre and post processing just to have variables. It's not available in all browsers, but in the most browsers you can use that. And in the older browsers, what you could use is called, I think, post CSS, so conditional post processing. So my mode is right now focus on standards and patch the standards with so-called polyfills. And not using strange frameworks will never go away. So right now, my code base is becoming leaner and leaner and not thicker and thicker over time. So this is the idea. You wanted to say something? No. Anyone? No. We focus on the front end. If you have too much front end, we can switch to backend. But backend, I talk so many times about Java. Everyone believes it's the best platform on earth. So this is already one. Now focus on UI. So now you say someone last week in the project asked me, what about responsive design? What? So what we can do? So the layout is here nice, but I would like to be a little bit more flexible. So what I can say this main here, by the way, or go here and elements. What you see here, what you should see with proper screen. So I have the main header, article, nav, footer. So it's a typical, structure. And what I can do, I can say right now, the main, I would like to have a grid, because this is not very nice. I would have to really professional looking UI, display grid. And this was the tweet, you remember, this grid is available in IE since 2 days. It is Internet Explorer Edge, and Firefox, Safari, and and Chrome are supporting this anyway. So right now it is grid, and what I can do with grid is, I can say, for instance now, grid template columns. This is 1 fraction unit, 2 fraction unit, and 1 fraction unit. And it still does not work. I know why. You know why? Because the whole page is empty. So this is you have always to have something, some content. Otherwise, it won't work. So section needs some content 2 times. So we have 2 contents, and we need some nav, and the nav is, let's say, div is link, just as placeholder, 3 times, and the footer is small copyright GeeCON. Of course, not open source, everything you have to pay credit card and pay to GeeCON. So this is how it is. So now it looks better. So let's now grid template rows, I wanted to say. You see, columns. So they are columns. 1, 2, 3, but I have 4. So I can say now 2 fraction units. I can use percents. Pixel would also work, but pixels are forbidden. Looks like this. I can say, okay, but this is strange. So I can use rows. So it looks like this. Still not optimal. So therefore, I show you what you can actually do, which is really cool. I could say that I have the header. The header is here. And I can say the header, the name, grid area, is header. And then I get footer. Grid area is footer. Then I get, what was it, article. Grid area is the article. And nav is the most important. Nav. And grid area is nav. And of course I need colors, otherwise background always light. So if you would like to light, No. This is too. There should be light coral. Nice. Then I get background. So the takeoff is if you just use the light colors, everything would work perfectly. Light golden, rod yellow. This was the best color ever. And footer, in a second it should work, hopefully. Background, light pink, of course. So we have nav, everything has a color right now. So and now comes the coolest thing ever. So forget about this. We can do grid template areas, and we can build now the grid. I can use the names here and say it begins with the header. Then we have article nav. Then we get footer nav. And what else? Header nav, everything. Header, article, footer. Article and nav. Yeah. Now we are set. So what you can see, we have the header. This pans here, but I can say no. I would like to have the nav being here, so it is here. Or I can say the footer should be here, and it's here. Cool, right? Very cool. Yeah. So we can we kill with that Bootstrap and Foundation. Gone. So height 100 viewport units, and it looks even more professional. Just the colors, right? So and if you would like to have a little bit of gap, there is grid gap, and let's say 1 pixel, for instance. Then it's even go away here with this is 1 pixel gap, so it's even more professional. You can have whatever you like. So and the cool story is then I can combine and say, but I would like to say grid template columns. And now I can say the first column should be 4 fraction unit, and the last one 1 fraction unit, because the nav should be not grid template color ns. Thank you. So, and then I can say this should be this is way too high. So I can say grid template rows and say here 1 FR, 4 FR, and the last one is 1 FR, and yeah, let's say even 0.5. And yeah, so and the cool story is, for who knows Swing and JavaFX, stuff like this. This is actually, if you know this, it is very logical, this to me. I don't have to learn strange frameworks, which will disappear in the next 3 weeks anyway. This is what I show you right now. This is called web standards. They will stick forever. If you learn it once, we will see here in 15 years, and if you are almost retired, we can still talk about grid layout, if you like. Probably how to migrate away from grid, but still grid. Questions? I wanted to show you Flex layout first, but I started with that because this is more complicated. I usually start with Flex, but we have no time, so therefore with that. And then how to be, oh, now is everything broken? So magic. So what I can do, I can say media screen and how it's, I think it's this, width this. No. Max width. What? 700 pixels. And I think it should be, I always confuse, this is dangerous what I show you right now because this is not very often I have to do this. So what it means, this style sheet should only apply if the screen is at least this, and then just copy that, and then say, okay, this is nice, but this should apply if this is max width. And in this particular case, I would like to have article, header, and where, yeah, and nav 2 times here, exactly. Or it's say, this doesn't matter. Who cares about copyright on iPhone, right? So just nav. Actually, we have to have footer, otherwise it is broken, you see. So everyone has to care about copyright on iPhone. So it is footer, nav. So and now, if we switch here to that, these are the media queries. So and if I make it changes now, it adapts automatically to the device. This was the hack. Okay? And one architect tried to explain me we need, framework to be responsive. It was like, yeah, or 2 if statements. Okay? So, forgot about the layout. Go with some nicer stuff. So, now, we need some more interactivity. It's like, okay, where are my buttons? There's no application without buttons, so I get that. So, we need a button. So, button. ID, critic. Where is it? Oh. Need more prominent place. Better. So this is the critic. And what I can do here, I can say document dot query selector. And I use the ID to locate the critic this time. And this is called save, right? You know this? Inspect, and this is ID save. Yes, ID save. This is the ID, and this is my this button. Save button. So and now I can say this save button on click, and I can register use my a function here. But as I said, if you know Java, you will get it immediately. For web designers, it would be half-day workshop to explain this. For you, I can just do something like this. Console log E. And again, I'll just tell you, lambdas. This is the same, but for unknown reasons, they use the fat arrow just to be a little bit different in Java. So we have the thin arrow, and then they come with fat arrow. But if you just replace the arrows, you are JavaScript expert right now. So what we can do here, and hopefully it will work. Where is it here? Go away, and console. And as you can see, we already able, of course it can be a function code, whatever you like. Then, the next part is, yeah, but what about input text? So, okay, also not a big deal. So input type text, and name it ID name. You would like to change the name of the critic. Also, I think it is a singleton, so it doesn't make any sense, but let's assume there are multiple critics. And so what I can do, I can say here, this is the name, and say input name. And then I can do the same and go here and say this input name on key down equals, because of time, I can do the same, say this is the event. And here I would like to intercept the event, which is going to be this. So, and if I tip something here, you see it is intercepted on this again, but I just would like to have the key. Then I go here and I have just the key. Say, yeah, but I don't like to have it immediately. I have to wait until it debounces. It's like, okay, then on change. And everything I show you right now is part of the standard. If you learn it once, you will know it forever. And the cool story is all the frameworks have to use this anyway. So it's very, very useful for debugging all the stuff. So actually, you will, at one point of time, you will have to know it anyway, right? It's not like you can forget about the standards. So we have this. So what happens now? So now if I change the focus, now it is here. Let's say I would like to have data binding. So okay, then you get the data binding. So what I could do is to say, okay, just delete this and replace that with this header.inner text and do it here. So and now it changes, and with on key down, this is the first, usually the first 5 minutes with Angular demo, right? So this is like data binding without a framework. Questions about this? Now you can, so you should be more, I used to call it more evil to me and say, yeah, but how much code would you like in one file? And I say, okay, not too much. I would like to build a little bit, I would like to have imports like in Java. Not a problem at all. Imports are also supported. So let's go here and say, I have a critic service, GS. export default class CRITEC service with, let's say, metadata. Or what we need, info. Return something, just to show you that it works. So, and then I can go to the index HTML, and I have to say script source app.js type equals module. And now I switch to module loader mode. And in the app.js, I can say now, this is import CRITEC service from, how it's called, CRITEC service. So, and then I should be able to use it. I can say this dot CRITEC service equals new CRITEC service. Why lowercase should be uppercase? So did I misspell that? No. So what we get, we can use it now for free. So for free means I go here and I could call that and see whether it works. I could say console.log this CRITEC service.info something. It works. So what it means is, to answer your question, last year we delivered several enterprise projects and there was no build step. It was not necessary. And the cool story is, at least in Germany, in the larger companies, we get Chrome. We can use Chrome. We are allowed to use Chrome, and then you are set. And then Firefox works as well. And now what I show you right now, since 2-3 days, means even the grid layout is supported in all browsers, so there's no issue there. If you think about this, in intranet doesn't make any sense because we have fast connection anyway. And what we get, HTTP2, which I can use on the server, all the files can be preloaded. So minification will die anyway, very soon. Agreed? So and it's not like what I show you is not like, some experimental technologies. Actually what I'm doing in projects. And the cool, what I saw in projects for Java developers, they say the first time we see the light. We just learned the standard and forgot about the fancy frameworks, which is a little bit boring. It's the same issue with Java. They say that Java is old and proven, and we would like to be something reactive, asynchronous, whatever, so I can do it. But getting things done is good enough. OK, now we would like to call the server. And yes? Very good. So very good. You are the organizer. You have to be enthusiastic, right? Otherwise, yeah, very good, you see. So now we could use external frameworks or dependency injection with $HTTP and some observables, or we can just use fetch. So how it looks like? Fetch. And what I will need is heroes, what was it? Resources, heroes, this. So I use fetch. This is standard in browsers. Dot. Then, what then is, this will return a promise. So what is promise? So they couldn't name it future because it's from Java, so they rename it a little bit. This is promise. So promise is like Java future. Asynchronous programming. With get, you get the result. You have catches. This is very, very similar to future. OK? So, and then I say, please, I would like to create a JSON from that. So R to R.json. This is like lambdas. And then I'm done. Why it always tries to save that, so don't. So I have to, no frameworks, nothing. It's a little bit, boring, but you have other problems than searching for frameworks, right? So we have this. Then app.js. So this won't work. It will strangely work. What we get here is nothing. Wait a second. Here is undefined. This is not very good. So fetch this, then, oh, you see here. Even in JavaScript, you need return. So what we get back is the promise, which is pending. So it means what we get, the communication is asynchronous anyway with the backend. So it's not resolved yet. So what I will have to do in my app.js, I could say here, OK, instead of doing this, I could go here and say, then this is the payload is our heroes, and this, where was it? Header in a text. Oh, in a text, actually. In a text. equals heroes. And Kritek Miska from server is in the, this is of course a little bit cheating, but they are at least in the header. Okay, so this is what I did. I created a microservice with Java 7, explain you the grid layout. And now I called from the UI, which is developed by a complete different team. You see this is complete different web server, pod 3000, calls to the backend, just using standards. My frontend is about 10K, my backend are 8K. Without internet, I wouldn't be even able to show you Hello World in Angular. Because if even with the CLI everything is installed, it still goes with the RN and develops the last 20,000 files. It's no kidding. There are about 40,000 in total. Questions? No questions? Then we have a little bit more time for what I can show you. Oh, we can do it more properly. So what I can do actually here, we can say here, this was nice, but instead of that, I could of course implement a method. And what I wanted to show you, what we get back is an array, and there are the same methods like in Java 8 for each map and filter. So like Java streams. Would you like to see this? A little bit boring. How much time max we have? 4 minutes official, but what is the time? Because I could implement WebSockets as well. This would be just 2-liners. And or ask me questions, because WebSockets will be one annotation on the server and three annotations on the server and one class. 10 minutes. Okay, then I'll first with the method. Let's go with the methods first. And I call the method output. And this method are heroes. And this would be an array. And what we get, we can say heroes.forEach. This is what we get in Java. Or we could even map the hero to an DOM element and create a table from it. Or we can filter the hero and say we only are interested in everything which starts with M but not with K. So this is something interesting. And or even more interesting would be, of course, WebSockets. So therefore, I could create a hero push. And here we would have a singleton, which is a startup, because I would like to initialize everything. And at the same time, it is server endpoint. And I think it has to start, or must not start with a slash, but there's an issue with the slash. Heroes, I think, I'm not sure. We will see in a second. Then push, and this is a schedule, and this should push every in month, not that much. So every minute, every 2 seconds, let's say, and every hour. And what I also need is the third annotation, actually. And this is the on connect. And this should be on open. And what I get here is session, which is WebSocket session. And I would like to just remember the session. This session equals session. And here I would like, yeah, this is not JavaScript. I have to do this, and here say beat, and here I can say if this session unequals null, I can go here and say this session dot get basic remote send text hello. How is drilling? This was a funny word. He drills. The malware, the Kritek drills a hole. How is drilling in Czech? Huh? Vrta. Vrta, exactly. This was like vrta from Kritek. So, so we have and then surround statement with a little bit exceptions, because vrting can go wrong always. So we have this, and this session is open. Yeah, this would be really nice, but it will be open. Yeah, it's not null and it's open. Do this, and now let's see, where is my server? and then say here just this. So run it. I was just too lazy. I cannot find the output field, so I hope it is somewhere. Output is here. What it says? Server initialization failed. Why this? The path, you mean? Okay, yeah. Always this is the slash, and never use slash in JAX-OS, and always forget it here. So, but on the JavaScript side, this socket equals new web socket, and this web socket has WS is as the path is localhost 8080 slash heroes, and with it is now strange without resources heroes again, I think. So this is what I will be differently, but this I think for here is good enough just to show you the idea. This on message, which is the same as the Java annotation, equals console lambda again, console log e, and now go here, and we see something? No, it's unfortunate. Yeah. Oh, it's better. And what I could use I think is data. Vrta from Kritek. Okay? So we have now still 3 minutes to go, and we have WebSockets implemented with 2 lines of code. So of course there are enough frameworks, reactive, whatever, that makes your life a little bit more interesting, but at least is this the minimum we should start with. And if this is not enough, go with frameworks. This is what I'm using with Java as well. I started with Java EE. If this is not enough, I will look to other frameworks, but it was always enough, which is a little bit unfortunate, so my life is not that exciting. So, and in front end, with the UI, we do exactly the same. With that, if you imagine, we have few kilobytes of JavaScript and CSS. It is crazy fast. The only problem what you get in production is, of course, development, very complicated tables, which is in enterprise sometimes a must, like filtering, grouping, and whatever. But this is what the frameworks cannot help you with either. But what we do instead, we rely on another standard called web components. And there are enough web components ready to use tables and grids. The best ones you probably already know, for instance, Vaadin elements. There are some web components from Prime Faces, so you can use them out of the box. So what do you use? We use standards whenever possible. And then if there's a crazy complex component, we don't even try to develop a crazy table, because I know that it's mission impossible, actually, in a project to do this. So we rely on ready-to-use tables. So now I still have 2 minutes. So this is a fancy watch. So the longer I speak, the more time I have. And anyway, any questions? And if you have questions, if not, EHEX TV. So just write to the gist, and I will try to answer it the beginning of the November. This is online, and everything. What are doing with me? And nothing else. Yeah, blog. Sometimes you will find me on my blog if not to forget things I blog. But better. Any questions? The easiest way, what I usually do, Java EE, we have in my current project as is OpenShift. It's like Kubernetes, everything already bundled. If you don't have Kubernetes, use Docker and HR proxy. It's the simplest possible way. And actually, in some conference, I did it on stage, actually. And on my YouTube channel, this is not a problem at all. It's like you have to create a Docker network, put the HR proxy in as many servers as you like to the same network, and you are highly available. So, yeah. Very good. Whether I use TypeScript. I like TypeScript. The problem is that TypeScript appeals to many Java architects, and then your frontend looks like a backend, interfaces, dynamic proxies, factories, and whatever. So this is the only danger. So if I use TypeScript just for the types, everything else is forbidden. So we use just the features which are in ES6, nothing else is allowed, and you just use TypeScript to have better code completion and refactoring capabilities. But this is really problematic to stick with. So right now I don't even mention TypeScript, and say I go with ES6, and if this is not enough, look, then I show afterwards, TypeScript. Better experience. Otherwise, Java developers just like all the features of TypeScript, and then we have the same problem like in backend. Interface impl, and for 6 years, and there was no second impl, for instance. I saw this already in the front end. So it's a really dangerous place. Other questions? TSC is the simplest possible one. NPM, TSC, TypeScript compiler, and you are set. But you're right, I would have a build step. And it's not a big deal, but if you have to build something, I would start with NPM, because it is the lowest. It's like, yeah, okay. And not with Webpack or whatever, crazy. But the Webpack is not the most sane one, I would say. So, any other questions? No? Then thank you. See you next year. So have fun.